It's been 1 year since we filmed the first installment of the Quest for 200. Now just for clarification, that's 200 pounds, not 200 inches. We had planned on bringing you regular updates throughout the summer, but time being a commodity in great demand on a farm, it was next to impossible for me to film anything. What I did do is I put out a number of game cameras and studied topo maps until my eyes burned. The intel gathered was then used to narrow down my search to 3 areas for mature whitetails. All these areas were above 1,300 feet, extremely rugged, and extremely remote. What we're trying to do is present New England hunting in a realistic view. By using traditional means of still hunting and tracking, no tree stands, no ground blinds, just taking your gun for a walk mixed with newer camera and scent control techniques. Let me introduce to you the 3 candidates we have for the Quest for 200. These are the 3 biggest bucks that we found this year, and coincidentally the 3 biggest rack bucks that we found this year. They're in, all 3 of these deer are in 3 different areas. They're not all in the same exact spot. So what we have to do is pattern each buck the best we can and figure out which one is going to be the easiest to make a move on, and that's the one we're going to focus on. We pretty much have it narrowed down, but we have a little bit more work to do. But in the meantime, let me show you the pictures of our 3 candidates. Okay, this is our first candidate. He's probably the largest of the 3. Now, I do not at this time have confirmation that he made it the whole season, but we are going to deploy more cameras here in the next week once the weather kind of warms up just a hair, so it's, you know, the cameras aren't freezing up and batteries going dead quicker, and that way we can kind of understand whether or not he's still in the mix and a viable candidate at this time. We call him the Emperor because he's the biggest and he's definitely the alpha male in this group of deer. As you can see, he's got a very wide rack and a lot of mass on him. We have a few more pictures here. As you can see, he's definitely over 200 pounds. This is a huge deer. Massive body, massive neck. These pictures here were taken in August, and his neck's already fairly large. Roman nose, beautiful thick 8-point rat. Here's our next candidate. Call him Hat Trick. He's the one that we found the antler that day. It was the 3rd antler we found of the day. The largest antler I found last year. Probably a 3.5, 4-year-old last year. 5.5 this year. He's absolutely a beast. He's huge, long-legged, long-bodied, very heavy. Not as heavy as the first deer. He's definitely not. He's probably dressed out will be around 205, 208, somewhere in that vicinity. But he's definitely not as big as the first deer. He's got a beautiful rack. It's real long beamed. Not a lot of mass, but a lot of length on the tines. He's definitely getting to be pretty smart, and from what I met of this deer, he's very much a homebody. He's not going very far. He's staying within probably a 300-acre area and not leaving. Even during the rut this year, he weren't going very far. And the last candidate we have. This deer is an absolute nemesis of mine. This deer, I've known him since he was a little bitty 5-pointer. Watched him literally on camera grow up. He's now 6.5 years old in this picture. He'll be 7.5 next year if he made it through the season, which we'll have confirmation very soon. He's massively wide, well over 24 inches wide. Very long tines, probably close to 10 inches on his G2s. Body-wise, absolutely a pig. I mean, this thing is, he's bigger than the 8-pointer for sure. He's already have the wrinkles in his neck. And these pictures are in August also. He's not got a big neck yet. This is his normal size neck. It's just big. He's got the wrinkles. He's got the big gut, the massive body size of a 6-year-old. He lives in an area that is absolutely next to impossible to hunt. The winds shift constantly. His bedroom is just an absolute tangled mess, and it's steep. I mean, these pictures are on a side hill, and this is fairly angled at the distance that it's at here. But I can tell you, this is one of the flat spots. He's on the side of a giant mountain, and he just doesn't move. And here's the last deer on our list. He's next year. He's an up-and-comer. I know, this is number 4. But what I want to illustrate to you on this is the body size of this deer. Looks huge in this picture. And while he is a very decent deer, I mean, he's definitely got some body size to him. He's not as big as he seems. And this is one of the things that you'll have to look out for when you're doing your camera surveys to pick out a deer to target. He's not as big as he looks. If you look at this picture, his body looks huge. He looks like a 300-pound whitetail, doesn't he? Well, let's illustrate to you. This line of tracks, right in here, in front of him, was made a couple hours before he came through by Hat Trick. So you got probably 10 inches between here and his front foot, which isn't a whole lot. Now I want to show you how much bigger Hat Trick is than this deer. So we'll click back to Hat Trick here. There he is, walking that same path right here. This is where that 8-pointer was. The 8-pointer doesn't barely come up to the bottom of his neck. That's a 200-pound deer. That's a 170-pound deer. See the difference? That's what tricks you in the woods. You'll see a deer that's got a real thick body like that, and you'll see a decent rack on him. You shoot, wow, I just got me a absolute Northwoods giant. And you get up to him, and he still looks big, but then you pull him up next to your buddy's 200-pounder, and he looks like a little chihuahua next to him. There's a huge difference between a 200-pound buck and a 160, 170-pound buck in size. Definitely in the rear. Now, he looks like he's got ghetto booty going there. Well, I can tell you what. You compare him. That's a giant. That's old Hat Trick right there. A little blurry in the pictures, tell him, but that is definitely Hat Trick. He circles and comes back here, but he's at least another 6 to 8 inches taller and a lot thicker in the bodies. Those are our 3 candidates. And next I'm going to show you the areas they're going to be in and the difference. And there's Chance with Hat Trick's antler. That's pretty funny. He looks so pretty tired. It was a long day and it was hot. I found his antler, and his antler is right here, as you can see. I want to show you guys how we use a topographical map to pick out areas to put a camera in. Now this map right here, I've never been in this spot, even though it's not that far from here. I've never been in the woods on this mountain. I don't know it. Never been there. But I can look at a map like this, and I can pick areas to put a camera that I have a pretty good idea where I'm going to pick up a big deer. I know. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? But it's not. Because deer use geographic features to live their lives. It's true. I swear. Anyway, so we have this map here. And what I'll do is I'll pick an area that looks really good to me by eye on the camera, and then I'll go in and I'll scout it. And in that area that I have found, there's going to be something that picks up attention from me that I'll put the camera. Whether it's a rub line, whether it's a heavily used trail, scrapes, rubs, beds, something is going to catch my eye on the feature that I pick, and I'm going to get a picture. Whether it's a big buck or a small buck, I'll get something. Okay, so we're going to zoom the camera in now. So let's point out a couple of features here. First, we get this swampy bog down in here. As we know, deer like to cross those and get into them and hide. Well, the deer I'm looking for aren't going to be down here. They're going to cross it every once in a while, but they're going to spend most of their times up on top of these knobs. So when they're traveling to these knobs, let's say they're crossing back and forth, they're going to pick the easiest route. And right off the bat, the easiest routes are right in here, along this. It's going to be a ravine to go up and down. That's not going to be their major route. I mean, that'll be where they're going to travel when they're going up and down. But generally what a deer is going to do is it's going to travel this way. It's going to come up and down along through here. And it's going to cross. One of the places I'm going to set a camera is right here. See this spot? You got the ravine coming up and down like this. The thermal's going to travel up and down these ravines to the tops of these hills where the bucks are traveling. So where they're going to cross right on top of these ravines. Now I'm talking year-round, because they can tell what's going on down below by cutting across the tops of these ravines. So there's going to be, and I'll guarantee it, there's going to be a major deer trail cutting right across, just like this. Right across the top. And there's going to be another one up a little bit higher. And that one that's going to be a little higher and less used is going to be a buck, and he's going to be using that. They're going to be bedding. I'm trying to see if this is north here. So this is going to be east, west. They're going to be facing on these hills here. This is where they'll be bedding. It's right on the tops, facing this way. Your sun's coming up like this. So south-facing banks. Now if these are oaks, these are the places you want to look for sheds. All along here, these southeast facing banks. That's where the sheds will be. Here. They're not going to be down in that swamp. They're going to be up here on this high piece. The deer are going to be, here's a great bottleneck right here. Another great place for a camera, right along in here someplace. So that deer's going to be traveling more along the lines. He's going to be traveling this edge more than anything. And then he's going to cut across and down through. And then probably like this. But that's a great bottleneck for a camera here. That's a spot there. They'll be bedding right up on top of this. Another great place for a camera is here. And you got this little flat piece here. It's another great place. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for any type of really neat feature. And on this whole map, there's two features on this map that really, on this side of the swamp that really get me. So I would spend most of my time here in this area. And I would spend my other amount of time here in this area. These are my two areas I'd do most of my scouting. On this side, right along these flat spots, right here, coming along the back of this knob is perfect. It's another spot, and I'd have a camera somewhere in here where it kind of narrows together. Another place would be here where they'd be crossing along this hill. There's a swamp right in here. Or on this side, they're going to be split. And depending on which way the wind blows most of the time, you're probably looking at the wind's going to be coming from this way, so the deer are going to be traveling on this side of it. But anyways, these are the little features that we look for. Stuff like this. This flat spot, this area right there, right in the base of that mountain, right in that basin area. That is just, if I had one spot to pick on this whole map to go, I'd go right in here, this area right there. That's going to be your big spot, and that's probably, once I figure out how to get to this spot and whether it's posted or not, looking in these pictures, I'm probably going to go there anyways. Even though this is a map that we just threw up here, inadvertently, I'm going to go to this spot because that really tickles my fancy right there. So, once again, look at your topographical maps. Pick an area that has something. Okay, basically what we have, we got a big tall hill here. We have this other hill here with a flat spot. And you can see, I mean, if you were a deer, you're going to travel this. This is just the easiest way to go. And then you're going to make your ups and downs through here. So in the next 6 months, we have a lot of work to do. let me just give you a little taste of what we're going to be doing. 1, we're going to put out our cameras in areas the deer are feeding in. Keep an eye on them so we can tell when their antlers drop. Then we'll be going out with the dog, this guy here, and we'll be looking for the sheds that they've dropped. And that'll give us an idea of this year's growth, and maybe gives us kind of a taste of what they'll be doing next year as far as growth goes on antler wise, and to give us absolute indication of whether they made it through the hunting season. And then we'll move the cameras to areas that fit the summer pattern that we found that these deer are using. We'll keep you up to date with regular installments via our Facebook, and if you follow the link below, you'll be able to come and see us this spring at an outdoor show near you. Thank you for watching the Quest for 200 update.